And we are live. Good evening, everyone. Tonight, we will be discussing how global financial institutions have laundered over $2 trillion from 1999 up until 2020. Now, why this is significant is that that's only 1% of the total transactions that was marked as money laundering. $2 trillion, which comes up to a total of 0.002% of SARS financial violations. So we know that that number is well in the quadrillions. Now, you consistently hear people refer to crypto as being a currency that is used by criminals and hackers that are trying to break the law, and they're into child pornography, and they're trying to avoid paying their taxes. Yet the US dollar, which is a fiat currency, which is the world reserve currency, is being used to launder trillions of dollars and other fiat currencies, might I add. Now, in a lot of these cases, the banks, when they are caught laundering money, rather than the CEOs and the executives and the managers going to jail, in most cases, they get a slap on the wrist, they pay a fine, and they go back as business as usual. To think about this in an even more insidious way, JPMorgan just was fined $1 billion for rigging the treasury markets and rigging the metals market. They made over $25 billion over the time when they were rigging the markets. The fine was only $1 billion. So here, you're paying $1 billion fine, but you made over $25 billion. CEOs and executives and managers of the company, they receive bonuses to basically break the law, while regulators look the other way. This is a problem that crypto can and will solve. Now, another thing I want you to think about, because right now we're watching these riots start to break out, and we witnessed George Floyd get a knee put on his neck for passing a fraudulent $20 bill. I want you to think about this for a second. He was passing a fraudulent $20 bill, and he got a knee on the back of his neck for 8 minutes. Breonna Taylor woke up to a no-knock warrant because her and her boyfriend were allegedly selling drugs. And they got shot and executed. But yet banks are laundering money for terrorists, oligarchs, some of the worst people you can think of in the world. And they are getting rewarded for doing so. The regulators, the FBI, the SEC, FINRA, all of these different institutions, all of a sudden they turn a blind eye to all of this corruption and fraud. Think about these drug cartels and what they do to people. Think about terrorists and what they do to people. And yet these bankers are facilitating this. U.S. banks, land of the free, home of the brave, equality, all of these things that they tell you that we're supposed to believe in as a nation, as a country. Yet, black man passes a fake 20, gets a knee on the neck. Jamie Dimon and JPMorgan, they launder over $500 billion. Over $500 billion JPMorgan has been caught money laundering. No CEOs go to jail. No executives go to jail. At a certain point, you have to realize this system needs to change. And this is why when I constantly sit up here and I talk to you about Bitcoin and crypto, Satoshi created the whole idea of Bitcoin was to create a system that was controlled by the people, that was outside of this traditional financial system. We've been watching this going for so long. This is nothing new. This has been going on and will continue to keep going on. So tonight's going to be pretty eye-opening. This is the document right here. I'm going to post the doc. I'm not going to read the entire document. This is a really, really lengthy document. I'm actually going to read an individual from Twitter. He really summed it up in about a thread that's about 20 tweets long. But if you really want to go and read this article, the article is in the chat. So just some quick housekeeping. As you come into the chat, please do me a favor and like this video, share this video, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Make sure that you join my mailing list. A link to my mailing list is in the description below so that you can be notified whenever I go live. Because when I cover topics like this, or I cover crypto related topics, YouTube will not send out that notification or push that video. So I need you to subscribe to the mailing list so that you could be notified. If you want to contact me and talk to me, a link to my Instagram page is in the description as well. Simply click the link, follow me, shoot me a DM, and we can begin to dialogue and talk. If you're interested in learning about cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology, as well as learning how to code, we currently have a coding bootcamp going on inside of My Tech Academy. We have a free 7-day trial. Definitely take a look at it. And if you like what you see, you can definitely stick around. For those of you who are looking to book a consultation, I am free for the rest of the week. I have 2 consultations tomorrow. So if you're interested in a consultation, come over to My Tech Academy, click on the tab Book Consultation, and then we could begin to set something up and go from there. With that being said, if you can see my screen clearly and you can hear me clearly, we'll get into this live stream. So just simply type 1 and we'll get started. Okay, good to see. And we can get going. So this right here is Cory Doctorow. And as you can see, he supports Black Lives Matter. We're not here to discuss that. We're really here to discuss the information. So give me 1 second. I want to zoom in so we can see this. So it says, the FinCEN leaks are the latest finance corruption mega leak following the Paradise Papers in 2017, the Panama Papers in 2016, the Swiss leaks in 2015, the Lux leaks in 2014. It's a trove of 2,100 suspicious activity reports, which stands for SARS, from the U.S. Treasury's Financial Crimes Enforcement Network. So this is the report I just posted out in the link. Here's the nut. The world's largest banks knowingly laundered billions of dollars for the worst criminals, looters, and oligarchs in the world. The financial regulators knew they were doing it. Many have paid billions in fines and avoided criminal prosecutions for earlier misdeeds and continue to facilitate the flows of vast illicit fortunes on behalf of brutal criminals and dictators, including many who were under sanction. The U.S. government knew, the banks knew, neither acted to stop it. The banks made a fortune for their trouble. I mean, we could just end it there, but the details matter. And again, he's basically summing up this entire report. If you want to go, you can read the entire report if you want to. These are the people right here that these banks were laundering money for. These people are some of the worst people in the world. I want you to think about this. Yet George Floyd passed a fake 20 and got a knee on his neck for 8 minutes. See, this matters because whenever you hear people trying to, especially the Candace Owens of the world, especially the Brandon Tatums of the world, who they sit up here and they try to make people like George Floyd out to be some of the worst people in the world. Yet these are dictators. These are people who are running child pornography rings. These are people who are cutting off people's heads. These are people who are dropping bombs on people. And yet they are laundering money. The banks are laundering money for these people. And yet they're getting rich to do this. Because we know about fractional reserve lending if you've been following this channel. And they'll sit up here and they'll tell you that they believe in justice and equality for all. But yet you'll get a knee on the back of your neck for passing a fake 20. Yet these people, they're making trillions of dollars, not billions, but trillions to break the law in our face. and they get a slap on the wrist. They pay a fine to do so. This is ugly. It's disgusting. So it goes, start with the largest bank in the United States, Chase. JPMorgan Chase knowingly laundered money for looters from Venezuela and Ukraine and helped launder the billions stolen from Malaysia through the 1MDB scam. 1 billion of that money passed through JP Morgan's fingers, and they knew it was dirty. They also laundered money for Paul Manafort after he'd been forced to resign over money laundering accusations. The volume of criminal money flowing through JP Morgan increased every year. JP Morgan increased every year, even as it paid fines in 2011, 2013, and 2014 for money laundering. I want you to think about this. They've been caught in 2011, 2013, 2014, money laundering, and not one of them went to jail. Not one of the CEOs, executives, COOs, CFOs went to prison on Jamie Dimon's watch. But yet they call Bitcoin a scam. Now, why is this important? Because right now, today, this article says JP Morgan is set to pay $1 billion in record spoofing penalty. Today. I'm not talking about something that happened 5 years ago. This article is from September 23rd, 2020 at 1:14 p.m. Zoom in so you can read, so you can see this. It says JPMorgan Chase and Company is poised to pay close to $1 billion to resolve market manipulation investigations by U.S. authorities into trading of metals, futures, and treasury securities, according to 3 people with knowledge of the matter. Think about this. Now, you hear me constantly talk about gold. I constantly talk to you about investing in silver. They were caught manipulating the gold and silver markets and suppressing the price of silver. Gold should be at $5,000 an ounce right now. Silver should be well at $100 an ounce right now. But because they control the levers and the price discovery, they can suppress the price and manipulate the price. Now, here's the funny thing. They made over $25 billion in this scheme right here and only had to pay a $1 billion penalty. So now think about this. If I can get rewarded, I want you to think about this. If I can get a financial reward, if the reward far outpaces the risk and a penalty, don't you think they're going to go for the reward every single time? Every single time? Now I want you to think about this even further. Look at the regulators. The regulators are getting paid $250,000 a year, $300,000 a year. What they're getting paid isn't enough for them to be an honest operator when you're talking about trillions of dollars. We talk about crypto all the time on this channel. We talk about game theory. The financial incentives are set up for people to be criminals. Because the wolves are guarding the hen house. They're going to continuously keep doing this. Now, let's get back to this because this is important. I really want to cover this because this is important stuff. Right now, we know who Paul Manafort was working with. He was working with Donald Trump. Right. And this is not about whatever political affiliation you're with. Right. This is about understanding the system is corrupt on both sides. This isn't a Republican Democrat issue. They're all corrupt. They're all corrupt. All of them. It says JP Morgan told the ICIJ that it plays a leadership role in proactive intelligence-led investigations and developing innovative techniques to help combat financial crime. Other banks engaged in criminal money laundering, HSBC, Standard Chartered, Deutsche Bank, and Bank of New York Mellon. The leaks only represent 0.02% of SARS and document $2 trillion in dirty transactions between 1999 and 2017, with 1.3 trillion at Deutsche Bank alone. Do you understand what they're saying here? that this only represents $2 trillion of all of the fraudulent transactions, just in the leaks alone. And if you come to the article, it breaks it down for you. Again, like I said before, if you really want to sit there and read this article, you can see this. The top 10 banks reported amount in FinCEN files. Deutsche Bank, $1.3 trillion. JPMorgan, $500 billion. Standard Chartered, $166 million. Bank of New York Mellon, 64. Matter of fact, no, hold on. I just remember $166 billion, for Standard Chartered, $64 billion for Bank of New York Mellon, $21 billion for Barclays. I always get this name wrong. Society, I'm just going to say General, $8 billion. HSBC, $4.4 billion. And State Street Corporation, $2 billion. Billions. This is $1.3 trillion from Deutsche Bank. And this is $500 billion. I said $500 million for JPMorgan. Excuse me. This is $500 billion. $500 billion. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. Now understand, I talked to you about fractional reserve lending and banking, how banks can take deposits and they can lever those deposits up. So they can literally, for every $10 you put in, they can loan out $9. They only have to keep 10% of deposits on hand. So just think about all of the leverage that they was able to create with this money that was received through criminal activities. And I know some of you sit up here and say, oh man, where you're getting this information from. This right here is the federalreserve.gov. I don't make this stuff up. This right here is the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. You can come right here. I highlighted it for you. And this is from 2002 of May, 2002. It says, currently, the marginal reserve requirement equals 10% of a bank's demand and checking deposits. 10%. That was back in 2002. Now, because of what's happening with the pandemic, the Fed, banks who operate with the Federal Reserve. Now, yes, there's different types of banks. We understand that, right? But again, we're not here to get into all of the technicals. We like to keep things broad in general. Yes, there are investment banks, there's commercial banks, there's, community banks, there's local banks, regional banks. We get that. But the banks that matter, they only had to keep 10% of reserves on hand. And now, because of what happened with the pandemic, right here, it says, in light of the shift to ample reserve regime, the board has reduced reserve requirement ratios to 0% effective on March 26. Think about that. So the banks don't even have to hold deposits on hand. Why? Because they can just go to the Fed. Now, as I said before, why is this important? George Floyd got a knee on his neck for a fake 20 for 8 minutes. These banks are laundering trillions, hell, quadrillions, and not one of them ends up in jail. Not one. It says Treasury stonewall ICIJ, but announced that it was seeking public comment on ways to improve the U.S. anti-money laundering system. The report not only encompasses the leaked SARS, the media orgs on the job analyzed 17,600 other docs, leaks, court files, FOIA docs, and interviews with experts. Here's what the banks did. Blindly moving cash through accounts for people they can't identify. Failing to report transactions with all the hallmarks of money laundering until years after the fact. Doing business with clients enmeshed in fraud and corruption scandals. This activity took place while banks like HSBC were already on probation for other money laundering crimes. HSBC says it is now a much safer institution. Now, I just want you to think about this for a second. If you and I got caught laundering money, we would spend the rest of our lives in jail. But yet these institutions are laundering trillions and no one bats an eye. I read a quote the other day, and I may say this wrong, but it went to the tune of this. Give a man a gun and he can rob a bank. Give a man a bank and he can rob the world. I'm going to repeat that for you one more time. I'm going to get my Umar Johnson on. Give a man a gun and he can rob a bank. Give a man a bank and he can rob the world. These people are creating money out of thin air, manipulating markets, rigging markets. But they're doing this and they're buying up real assets that matter. They're buying up land. They're buying up water. They're buying politicians. This is what's happening. But yet they'll sit up here and they'll say Bitcoin is a scam. See, this is why when I first came across crypto, I knew crypto was something important because everyone was fighting it so much. They were fighting against it. I knew it was something big because of the way that everyone responded to it when it first came out. It says much of the $2 trillion flowed through secrecy jurisdictions, not just the British Virgin Islands, but also the city of London, Wyoming, Nevada, Delaware, Cyprus, Hong Kong, the UAE, Switzerland, and Russia, places where companies can have anonymous owners and beneficiaries. The ICIJ traces some of this cash to terrorist organizations, sanctioned individuals, in Iran and former USSR, etc. JPMorgan laundered more than $1 billion for a mysterious company called ABSI Enterprises, believed to be a front for Russian mafia boss of bosses, Simeon, more than $1 billion. Now, I want to play for you what Jamie Dimon referred to Bitcoin as. And then I want to show you how laughable it is. So let's listen to Jamie Dimon's words real quick, and then we're going to come back to this synopsis. Give me 1 second.
All right, that sounds definitive. Bitcoin hit a new high today.
I could care less what Bitcoin trades for, how it trades, why it trades, who trades it. If you're stupid enough to buy it, you'll pay the price for it one day. I've also told people that it can trade at $100,000 before it trades to zero. You know, tulip bulbs traded for $75,000 once, something like that. The only value of a Bitcoin is what the other guy will pay for it. And I think, honestly, I think there's a good chance that Bitcoin, a lot of the buyers out there are up there jazzing up every day so that maybe you'll buy it too and take them out. And I quite mean that, by the way. You know, these people are very good at manipulating the press these days and getting news out. And so every day, you know, you have CNBC, nonstop Bitcoin. Who cares about Bitcoin? I mean, you know, the world's economy is so big. We move, JPMorgan alone, these companies, $6 trillion. We move all this money. And Bitcoin in total is, all these currencies are $50 billion.
So let's unpack a little bit what he just said there. Number one, he just said they move over $6 trillion. How much of that $6 trillion is money laundering, represents money laundering? Then he said, who cares about Bitcoin? Yet now we find out that they're working with Coinbase. Now we find out that JPMorgan Chase, they had their own crypto project Quorum that they handed over to Consensus, right? So you have to understand what's going on here. This is the okie doke, the bait and switch. They are telling you that this is illicit. They're telling you that this is criminal activity, yet the number one instrument used in criminal activity is the US dollar. The number one instrument used to do criminal activities is US dollars. Chain Analysis did a breakdown of Bitcoin, and only $4 billion worth of transactions actually were involved in criminal activity. Only $4 billion. Only $4 billion. Yet I'm telling you that they have 0.02%, $2 trillion in a 20-year time period was money laundering through banks. Through banks using fiat currencies. Because, see, if you go through the academy, you'll learn about this. Bitcoin has a block explorer. See, people believe that Bitcoin is this anonymous currency that can't be tracked, that can't be traced. And that's not true. Because you can come on a block explorer and you can see everything that's happening on the blockchain. I can pull up this block height. I can pull up the block hash. I can see the timestamp of this block, when the block was created, when the block was formed. I can see the transactions, every single transaction that happened within that block. Right? So Bitcoin is a pseudonymous cryptocurrency, meaning that you don't know who is behind the address, but you can track everything that the address is doing. So why is this important? When we're dealing with public institutions and public funds, this is a game changer. To be able to see where your funds are going and being spent is important. To know who's getting bailed out. To know which companies are receiving funding from the government, how much funding are they receiving from the Fed. Nothing can be done in secrecy. Everything can be tracked and monitored and traced on the blockchain. So I can click on this address right here and I can see total amount of Bitcoin they received, total amount of Bitcoin they sent. I can see their final balance. I can see transactions that they were involved in. That's important. That's transparency. And see, they don't want that type of transparency. Now, again, we're talking about publicly traded companies. We're talking about public institutions, government institutions. You as a private citizen, you would want to use Monero because you deserve privacy. And just because you want privacy doesn't mean that you're a criminal, right? You just may want privacy because you deserve that right of privacy as a private citizen. But when you see this type of stuff, this is a game changer. Having a public distributed ledger is a game changer. Being able to monitor and track everything that's happening with your public officials and public institutions is important. Now, it says the Treasury deputizes banks themselves to fight laundering, giving the largest banks responsibility to catch criminals. Instead, these banks use their privileged position to extract fees from crooks in exchange for keeping the money. Meanwhile, the actual compliance officers at the big banks are marginalized and underfunded, overworked, under-resourced staffers who typically work in back offices far from headquarters and have little clout within their organizations. Now, see, this is important because since these banks understand that they're participating in fraud, they purposely put the compliance department in another building or on another floor, far away from what's happening, because they know that they're committing fraud. And in some instances, the compliance officers are in bed with the fraud. Because let's take a step back. When I released the Monero course in my Tech Academy, right on cue, this article was released. And it says the IRS offers $625,000 bounty to anyone who can break Monero and Lightning. Now, this is what I want you to understand. Think about all of the crime that's happening throughout not just this country, but throughout the world in so many different industries. These people are not equipped. They don't have the proper staff, nor does the staff have the actual technical ability to even understand what's going on. So they're trying to pay people, hackers, to come try to break Monero's encryption, and they're willing to give them $625,000. Now understand, if you are a hacker and you possess the skill set to break Monero, which is basically at this point unbreakable, but if you had that skill set, would you settle for $625,000? Or would you go on the black market where there's trillions of dollars being moved around? Obviously, you would go to where the trillions of dollars is flowing at. You would not focus on going to the government. And this is what's happening here. People in government are more corrupt than people in crypto. They're more corrupt than people who operate on the black market. The government is grossly understaffed. Grossly. They can't keep up with what's going on out here. So this is why I keep trying to tell a lot of you, like, oh, well, I'm worried about Monero. Please. Where do you think more crime is happening with the US dollar than crypto? Documents in the FinCEN files show compliance workers at major banks often resort to basic Google searches to try to learn who's behind transfers involving hundreds of millions of dollars, which means that banks can only figure out if they're laundering money for a monster if that person is already in the news. And usually that happens after the money has winged its way to some other far-off destination. Meanwhile, the money people at the bank go to great lengths to keep their own compliance people from busting them, like Standard Chartered, where bankers use aliases so payment from sanctioned criminals could go through. Some of the dodges used to disguise the true owners of money launderies are hilariously amateurish. And the only thing worse is how long they were overlooked by regulators who were supposed to be preventing them. But the regulators are in on the scheme as well. Because why would I want to regulate you when you can pay me under the table $1 million? I'm only making $250,000, maybe $375 a year, right? It makes more sense to, focus on. Hold on real quick. Bye-bye. Let's get rid of you. We have our first troll of the night. See ya. Right? It makes more sense as a regulator to work with the people and do criminal stuff because I'm going to get paid. I can make more money doing criminal stuff and working with the criminals than I could make by working my day-to-day job. So it says, for example, the UK's Companies House, the corporate regulator, allowed a couple of anonymous companies in the British Virgin Islands to be listed as the owners of hundreds of UK companies, all housed in a vacant former nail bar in Wales. One of the companies, Novarex, funneled gigantic sums via obviously fraudulent payments, such as $400,000 for knee boots from Hong Kong, millions in all, while booking $2,500 per year in revenues with the help of JPMorgan Chase. Now, this ties back to Trump. Again, I'm not here to talk about whatever political affiliation you may have. I want you to think about this for a second. There's a reason why he doesn't want to release his taxes. Because if he releases his taxes, now you can start putting together the paper trail, right? Investigative journalists will be able to put that together. And now we can start to see, again, all of these politicians are corrupt. Think about this. You don't go into politics for the money, yet you see all of these congressmen and congresswomen. They come into Congress and they're only making, $100,000 a year, $200,000 a year. And then by the time they leave Congress, they're worth millions of dollars. See, people go into government and politics so that they can enrich themselves, right? This is why I was saying that this system is unsustainable. This system of government is unsustainable because you have people who are close to the money printer, are close to the regulators, and they're all looking out for each other. And then we get the crumbs. As I said before, and I'm going to keep saying this, George Floyd passed out fake 20s and got a knee on his neck. Nancy Pelosi and these people, they're dumping stock before certain events, or they're buying up stock before certain events to the tune, of millions of dollars. Look how much money Hillary's worth. Look at the Hillary, the Clinton Foundation. Look how much money they receive. Right? Like these are the things that you need to understand. Tommy the Hustler, I cannot tell you, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't focus on when's the time to buy. I constantly focus on dollar cost averaging, meaning that you should be spreading out your buys over time. You should not just be buying everything at one time. Bitcoin can go to $500. It can go to $500,000. I don't know where it's going to go. I just know that long term, this is what I'm holding my money in, and it's been performing well. I'm holding gold, silver, crypto, and precious metal mining stocks, and I've been performing really, really well for the past let's say, decade. So that's where my money's at. I'm buying right now. I cannot tell you if you should buy, but I know I'm buying because my personal belief is that the only way that Joe Biden can beat Donald Trump was if the economy crashes and the stock market crashes. There's no way that Joe Biden cannot remember two sentences. Again, I'm not here to debate your political beliefs and your political ideology. I'm just simply telling you what I believe. I believe that the powers that be, they're going to get together and they're going to try to tank the stock market and have a second spike so that therefore they can do voting, and people are basically going to be able to mail in their votes and beat Trump that way. That's the only way the Democrats can win, and that's what I believe that they're going to try to do. But again, I always told people, focus on dollar cost averaging, buying $500 a month, $1,000 a month, and holding for the next 3 to 5 years. I'm not looking to cash out these investments. Stephanie Collins, thank you for the donation. It's the same old story. The government gets the small hanging fruit launderer a few mil. They go to prison. The big bads get I can't say that, definitely promo agreement. If anything, must be nice. Yeah. 100% agree. It says JPMorgan, and thank you for the donation, Stephanie Collins. JPMorgan had a financial partnership with a Latvian bank, ABLV, a laundry for Russian criminals, whose own compliance department rated 90% of its customers as high risk. They moved billions with the help of JPMorgan. This was on Jamie Dimon's watch when the division that did these dirty deals ballooned to $4.13 billion per year. Novarix was the laundry that Paul Manafort used to do his own financial crimes. JPM laundered at least $230 million for them. Now, why is this important? Because listen to this. Let's listen to what Jamie Dimon has to say.
Fraud. Yeah. Why is Bitcoin a fraud?
Yeah, so separate blockchain, which is a technology, from Bitcoin, the currency. And now there are multiple currencies, and so I'm talking about not Bitcoin per se, I'm talking about currencies. You know, the first, and the reason, and I'm not saying go short, because I know Jim Chanos was up there. You know, Bitcoin can tell $100,000 of Bitcoin before it goes down. So this is not advice on what you do. My daughter bought some Bitcoin and it went up, and she thinks she's a genius now. But it's I did refer to it as like the tulip bulb crisis of the 1700s or whatever. But here's the reason: governments, the first thing they do is form a currency. They like to control the currency. They control it through a central bank. They also like to know who has it, where it is, where it's going. Okay, and you just saw China just is closing down the Bitcoin exchanges. And what all I ever said is that at Bitcoin, the bigger these things get, the more governments right now, they look at it as a novelty. You know, they love in Washington talk about, oh, this is technology, we love technology. Wait until someone gets hurt. Wait until it's used for illicit purposes, which it is somewhat used for illicit purposes. They close it down. And that's my...
They haven't closed down the dollar, right? They haven't shut down the dollar, and the dollar is used for most illicit activity and criminal activity. It's the US dollar. So, you know, I find this funny that he's talking about illicit activity, yet, you know, we can just go down the list of different schemes and scams that they've been involved in. You know, like I said before, it's comical to me that he can sit up here and he can keep talking about, you know, crime, and yet they were spoofing. Let's talk about what spoofing is. Spoofing typically involves flooding derivatives markets with orders that traders don't intend to execute to trick others into moving prices in desired direction. The practice has become a focus for prosecutors and regulators in recent years after lawmakers specifically prohibited in 2010. While submitting and then canceling orders isn't illegal, it is unlawful. It is unlawful as part of a strategy intended to dupe other traders. So right now they're paying a $1 billion fine for those of you who are just turning in, and they made over $25 billion by doing this, right? So what they would do is that there's a lot of algorithmic trading in the markets. It's known as high frequency trading. So what happens is that if you're co-located on a stock exchange, you can see the order book, you can see the depth of market and what's for sale and what's on the bid and what's on the offer. So what they would do is they would jump the queue, and they would come in there and they would say, I want to buy, 2,000 contracts for delivery of silver. And then what would happen is all of the robots would start seeing that order and they'll start trying to jump it. And then they would pull that liquidity. So they'll show like, hey, yeah, I want to buy. And then when you would go to fill the order, they would then remove it quick because, see, what happens with a lot of these market makers like Goldman Sachs and JPMorgan and all of these different people is that they are co-located on a stock exchange. So essentially they can see the orders coming in because you have to route your order through certain brokers. So they can see the orders before the orders are executed. And if it's a big enough order, they can jump in front so you don't get filled. Or they'll pretend like they're coming to sell a lot, force you to sell, push the price down, and that way they can step in and buy. See, these markets are heavily manipulated. They're manipulated through policy. They're manipulated with the Fed injecting so much liquidity with the repo markets. And the whole infrastructure of this market is fraud, right? See, when you understand this entire system is fraudulent. So I laugh at people like Brandon Tatum and Candace Owens and Anthony Brian Logan when they talk to us about, being, justice and equality. And they talk about George Floyd's history and his past. No one's trying to paint George Floyd as being some upstanding citizen, but why does he get a knee on the neck? But these guys, they get a slap on the wrist and they pay $1 billion, right? Why does that exist? We know why it exists, but it's funny when you think about it. Deutsche Bank, from the FinCEN files, laundered over $1.3 trillion, and that's just based upon what they have tracked. We know that that's just the tip of the iceberg, yet this continues to keep happening. So when we start talking about the problems with this system and we start looking at DeFi, decentralized finance, or we start looking at, yes, there's fraud that's happening in DeFi as well. This is why I recommend you focus on the cream of the crop stuff, the stuff that actually matters, the stuff that's been audited, the stuff that's been checked. This is what Satoshi envisioned when he created Bitcoin, because after 2008, people wanted something different. They wanted a system where I did not have to trust any third parties because these third parties have proven themselves to be corrupt and inept. You want a system that I don't have to trust, I can verify. I can verify with a high degree of certainty what's happening on the Bitcoin network and on the Bitcoin blockchain by just running a full node. I don't have to guess anymore. I don't have to trust Coinbase. I don't have to trust Binance. I don't have to trust the SEC. I don't have to trust FINRA. I don't have to trust any one of these people. I can simply audit what's going on the blockchain. I can check and I can see what's happening on the blockchain. That's powerful. That's revolutionary. That's a game changer. That's the whole idea of a public, decentralized, peer-to-peer network. So let's finish this up real quick. So it goes, then there's HSBC. Long one of the world's most unapologetic criminal banks. The leaks reveal HSBC before, during, and after the fact involvement in the world capital market Ponzi scheme, which built poor people for the world's poorest places, from the world's poorest places, out of $80 million. While WCM was under investigation in 3 countries, the HSBC was still on probation for laundering money for the mass murdering Mexican narco cartels. It kept WCM's account active and allowed $7 million to be emptied out of it. Just part of the $900 million in shell money linked to anonymous transactions HSBC cleared for the world's crime lords and dictators. Indeed, all 5 of the worst culprits in the leaks had taken deferred prosecution deals, probation for earlier crimes, which they continued to commit. Like Bank of New York Mellon, which laundered $1.3 billion for Putin ally, mafioso Oleg, or Deutsche Bank, which moved $11 billion. And all 5 banks laundered money for the Ukrainian oligarch, wanted criminal, Fartrash, while telling Treasury they were cracking down on financial crime. JPMorgan laundered $2 billion. So it's funny when you constantly hear the Democrats talk about, the Russians and Donald Trump. They're all in bed with the Russians. They're all in bed with the Iranians. All of these people. They're all in bed with China. None of these people are more noble or more honest than the other one. They're all the same. All of them. And I read the last 5. It says, Deutsche Bank now says it had past weaknesses, has learned from its mistakes, systematically tackled the issue, and we're a different bank now. And this guy says, who the fuck believes that bullshit? And I agree with him 100%. It says the U.S. Treasury Financial Crime Enforcers, for one, these companies shouldn't get deferred convictions. The individuals who perpetrated these crimes and the executives who signed off on them should face criminal prosecution. They should forfeit all of their assets. The banks should be broken up and broken up again and broken up again and broken up again until they are small enough that no one can claim the organization was too big to effectively police. And that's another thing. Many of these institutions are, quote unquote, too big to fail or too big to regulate. They should be broken up. All of these executives who were paid bonuses, who received taxpayer money as well to run these banks and save these banks, they should have to pay back all of the money that they received. All of their assets should be clawed back if we lived in a true fair economy, a fair justice system, but we know we don't. He says this is not the first or the second or the third or the fourth set of finance leaks that reveals that the financial industry is a literal, non-metaphorical, non-hyperbolic global crime syndicate. Think about that. Think about that. I love what this guy said. And again, if you want to read the whole report, I'll post the report here for you so you can go and read the report if you want to. It's important because I constantly tell you guys about history, right? History doesn't repeat itself, but it damn sure rhymes. And if you go and you read the book, The Creature from Jekyll Island, you would understand that none of this stuff is new, right? Like bailouts, they aren't new. This has been going on since the inception of the Federal Reserve. This boom and bust cycle, because see, the banks, they all create this boom and bust cycle. And at the head of all of this is the Fed. So when we look at income inequality, when we look at what's happening in the economy, we understand, right? All of this leads back to fractional reserve lending. It leads back to inflation. It leads back to creating money out of nothing. And this is what creates these booms and these busts. And this will continue to keep happening. And this is why I can see investments and understand the economics behind it and see the use case behind it. So when I see, smart contracts, when I see the use of a decentralized public ledger, I can see the power in that because I understand what's happening in the economy. I understand the shift that's about to come. I understand we're going through the fourth industrial revolution, the Great Reset. And see, technology makes transparency so relevant now, right? So you can't hide anymore. See, back in the 80s and the 70s and the 60s, they could get away with this because there wasn't a YouTube, right? There weren't any vloggers like myself. We didn't have, computing power at our fingertips like this, where we can actually be able to pull up this information like this. So now, yes, we can't change this, but we can prepare ourselves for what's going to come now. That's the most important thing. You're never going to beat these people, right? They're involved in everything. But now you can better prepare yourself. So now you're not a sheep and just walking around blind, believing in the American dream, right? Because we witnessed what happened in 2008, right? The American dream became the American nightmare. So now I can prepare myself. I can prepare my family. I can better teach and equip my kids about how to use debt, right? How there's good debt and there's bad debt, right? When you understand that, it's important. And Jerry West books, it's not even that they have too much money. It's that literally they create the money. They can tank this economy anytime they want. They can take it down. They can build it up anytime they want. They can steer money wherever they want to because, see, the government picks winners and losers. Banks picks winners and losers, right? So you have to just understand we're in the matrix. How am I going to manipulate and move throughout the matrix? That's the most important thing. Once Neo got knowledge of the system, Now you could begin to bend the system to do the things that you want the system to do. First, you have to equip yourself with knowledge. And so many of us, we are equipping ourselves with knowledge that's outdated or that's just not useful or that's not productive, right? Like, what good is it you teaching me information if I can't use it, right? So now if I understand money is debt, and I understand that money is created out of nothing, then it goes back to Robert Kiyosaki's basic book with Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I always tell you guys, that's the first book that any one of you should read, because you will understand that there's good debt and that there is bad debt. There is debt that will pay you. There is debt that you can leverage. And then there is debt that will entrap you. There is debt that will shackle you and chain you down for the rest of your life, right? You can go to school for STEM, or you can go to school and be a sociology major, right? One is going to reward you handsomely financially. The other, if you're lucky to get a job, you'll be okay, but you may walk away with $40,000 of debt that you can't pay back, right? One you can leverage. The other, most likely, you're going to be stuck, right? You can get a credit card with 22% interest, and you could go take a trip. Or you could try to get a credit card with 0% interest, take the money off the card and invest in an asset, understand I don't have to pay that interest back for another 18 months, right? There's ways that you can use good debt, or you can use bad debt. You could buy real estate, let it appreciate, suck out equity, good debt. You could buy real estate, get cash flow, good debt. Or you could go out here and you could go take a vacation. You could go have a $30,000 wedding. Choice is yours, right? So understanding financial literacy comes down to understanding the system, understanding the rules, not saying that these rules are right, saying to you that these are the rules. And I have to make sure that I understand what's going on, and also understanding that this system is coming to a head and that we don't have too much more time left with this system. I don't know what the world is going to look like in the next 5 to 10 years. I just know that it's going to look extremely different. The only thing that will remain consistent is change. The only constant in life is change. And when we look at self-driving cars, when we look at automation, when we look at the robots that I show you with Boston Dynamics, right? When we look at machine learning, so many of our jobs are going to be automated and taken away. I don't know what solution is going to come, but I know that you have time now to get prepared. The system's not fair. The system is rigged. But now you're equipped with information. You're equipped with knowledge. You're not a sheep. You're not out here walking blindly now. You have a choice now to either try to do something different or not. But, for those of you who are these, Blexit people and these, conservatives out here who just, you bootlicking Trump lovers, you can't have it both ways. You can't watch this type of fraud happen, and talk about pulling yourself up by the bootstraps. These people are not pulling themselves up by the bootstraps. These people are committing fraud. These people are committing money laundering. And if I did this, I would have a knee on the back of my neck to the point where I could not breathe, right? If I was creating money out of thin air and counterfeiting money, I would have a no-knock warrant and get shot to death. So you can't have it both ways. You can't talk to me about justice and letting the justice system work itself out when this has been going on for decades and not one of these CEOs, CFOs, executives, managers have went to prison. It's laughable at this point. And as I said, all of these people, they tried to tell you, Bitcoin was a scam and a scheme, and now you see all of them getting involved. And I've been telling you this. I've been involved in crypto since 2012-ish, 2011-ish maybe. I've been hearing that line, China's going to shut it down. And yet all of the mining, let me fix that. Most of the mining, a majority of the mining, I believe 60 to 65% of the mining capacity and hash rate is in China. But yet somehow China's shutting it down, right? You like, only fools would listen to that, because if you understood the technology, you would understand that it's not easy to just shut it down, right? Because the government doesn't have enough resources to shut down every single mining farm. They just don't. Now, they can start drone striking them and stuff like that. But that goes into a whole different video that's beyond the scope of this video. But that whole idea that, yeah, China's going to shut it down. China's been shutting down Bitcoin since 2012. And yeah, here we are. Back then, Bitcoin was trading at what? $1,200? You know, and I wanted to play this because this is a funny video. Give me 1 second. I like this video because this is laughable as well.
Kids, I mean, half keep half. That's the only thing I said, which is just smart trading. And you didn't do that, so don't ask me now. But a smart, rich guy I talked to last night, he said, it's like these guys found a $1,000 bill in the street, or they found a diamond in the street, and the diamond went up in value, and now they're investors. They're professional investors all of a sudden, because they found a fucking $1,000 bill in the street. 99.999% of the people that own Bitcoin are fucking morons. Retarded, imbeciles. That's just it. Some of you in this room fall into that category. You found a $1,000 bill in the street, just say, well, I found a $1,000 bill in the street. If you 99% of the people that own Bitcoin are fucking morons. Because they found a fucking $1,000 bill in the street. 99.999% of the people that own Bitcoin are fucking morons. Retarded, imbeciles. That's just it. Some of you in this room fall into that category.
Right. Now, some of you may be saying to yourself, why am I playing this video? I play this video because when you see people like Dan Pena, Jamie Dimon, Warren Buffett, these are people who they sell you the idea of American exceptionalism, and they sell you the idea of capitalism and picking yourself up by the bootstraps and just working hard. And these are people, these are relics. They're not successful because they had talent. They're not successful because they're intelligent. These people are successful because they are crony capitalists that benefited from a predatory system. See, I believe in true capitalism. I believe in true competition and free markets. These people don't believe in free markets. They believe in markets that's rigged, where they can call up their friend from the bank after they fuck the company up, after they run the company in the ground. They can call up their friend that works at the Fed or their friend that works at a bank and get a sweetheart deal and get bailed out. I did a video talking about the airline CEOs. They ran the company like a slush fund, ran the company into the ground, and received a golden parachute to get fired. The CEO got paid millions of dollars to underperform and get fired. And they tell you that that's capitalism. You just got to pick yourself up by the bootstraps. You don't work hard enough. It's laughable. Now, again, I can't cry over spilled milk. At the end of the day, this is the hand that I was dealt. I have to play my cards right. But just understand that when you hear these people say stuff like this, right? He's afraid of Bitcoin. He's afraid of what the future is going to look like because he won't be able to compete. He won't be able to be like the Hunt brothers in corner markets and call up his friends and get sweetheart deals. This is why so many of them, they hate technology. They hate technology because technology is the great equalizer. Technology allows you to be sitting here right now and getting this information. Technology allows me to have people. I did a consultation today with a guy in Australia. I can share information with a person in Australia now. You could not do that back then. Right? So it becomes, and this is why so many hedge funds and these big institutions, they're struggling to beat the market now because we all have the same information now. So now real talent comes up. Your real talent will reveal itself. And this is why those of us that can are doing and those of us that can't. He's just mad he didn't catch Bitcoin. So he has to attack you and call you a bitfuck. So let's finish listening to it.
you found $1,000 bill in the street, just say, well, I found $1,000 bill in the street. If you found $1,000 bill in the street, what would you do with it? You cash it, right? You wouldn't hoard it, would you? It's exactly the same. You found some shit in the street that happened to go up in value. So don't ask me anymore. Go fuck yourselves, please. Okay. But one of the great calls of Indians, because nobody listened to me. We got some bit fucks in there, I can tell. Too bad. Shows you the stupidity. Shows you the stupidity. And I know who's behind Bitcoin. And it ain't some fucking Japanese guy in a cave. I know the guy. And when that comes out, you heard it here first. Bitcoin is going to zero. Zero. When it comes out, zero. We got some bit fucks in there, I can tell. Too bad. Shows you the stupidity. Shows you the stupidity. And I know who's behind Bitcoin. And it ain't some fucking Japanese guy in a cave. I know the guy. And when that comes out, you heard it here first. Bitcoin is going to zero. Zero. When it comes out, zero.
You know, I'm an OG in crypto. I've been around for a long time. So many people have been calling for the death of Bitcoin for so long. It's comical to me. Like I laugh. Like I said, I've been involved in crypto late 2011, early 2012. I've been hearing the death of Bitcoin for so long. It's laughable. Dan Pena is a dinosaur, right? The only thing that's going to die is the dollar. The only thing that is going to die is going to be the US dollar. The dollar will die. And I've covered that so eloquently on this channel for so long. When you look at this debt clock, the only thing that's going to zero is going to be the US dollar. And you can believe in all of this modern monetary theory. You could believe because our debt is denominated in dollars and we have the reserve currency that we can just print money. I'm telling you right now that the rest of the world, they're catching up. China does not want to be the little brother anymore. They want to be the big brother. Russia is willing to collude and work with China and Iran to destabilize the West. When we look at the pandemic, like this we're watching high-level chess play itself out right now. When you see this debt clock, you see these numbers, they keep ticking. They don't stop. They keep going. And they will continue to keep going. The only thing that's going to die is going to be the dollar. And when it's all said and done, all fiat currencies eventually go back. It reverts back to its original value, which is zero. The only thing that gives dollars value is the fact that you are willing to go in debt for those dollars. And they can create artificial scarcity of those dollars. Because, see, remember, when you borrow that mortgage, when you get that car loan, when you get that student loan, you create that currency out of thin air. You give it value because you're going to work the rest of your life to pay back that debt. You are the battery. You are the driver of the economy because you are a debt slave. But many people don't know this. You are the power that drives the economy. You are what gives money value, you. And the rest of the world is beginning to wake up. $26 trillion in national debt. U.S. unfunded liabilities, $154 trillion. We're going to get to a point where the interest payments on the debt is going to be the largest expenditure on the budget for the government. So, I encourage you guys to read Jeff Booth's book, The Price of Tomorrow. Really good book. Go and read The Creature from Jekyll Island. Understand debt and leverage. Because, see, inflation was a good thing when debts were small. Inflation benefits hoarders, people who hoard wealth. And this is what drives the income inequality, because it's like playing a game of Monopoly. The boomers got to go first. So because the boomers got to play the game before us, they got to gobble up all of the assets, right? And then even those before then, they were able to pass down assets to their family. So you and I were playing Monopoly, right? But you have all of the assets on the board before the game even starts. And I have to go and play the game and constantly keep paying rent, right? And now inflation's getting so high, and debt, the amount of debt that we're consuming isn't giving us the same amount of GDP and productivity. Therefore, the system has to reset, which leads back to the Great Reset. Right now, we're in the everything bubble. Everything is going up. But eventually that bubble is going to pop. And Ray Dalio talks about this and speaks about this all the time. When investors finally wake up and realize that the bubble has popped, people are going to begin to sell, and they are going to sell into something. They're going to hop out of assets that have appreciated, and they're going to hop into things that are undervalued. Or the Fed's just going to inflate us to oblivion, and then everything's going to go up. And whichever way you look at it, it's going to be better for people who are paying attention. So with that being said, let's look at the market a little bit before we wrap this up. Let's look at some charts, see what's going on. Give me 1 second. Let's close some of these windows. And again, you could go ahead to this Fed article. As I said, all of the information I give you guys is documented. You can go look it up. We're going to go look. We'll look at the market a little bit. So let's close some of these windows. Let's look at the market, see what's going on. I know the markets globally are selling off. So let's see what's going on. Boom. So see what's going on in the chat as well. You know what? Yeah, there we go. That makes more sense right there. Let's close this. There we go. There we go. There we go. Fixed it. All right. So let's open this up. Let's see what's going on with gold. See what's going on with Bitcoin. Let's look at silver. Let's see what else is going on. Yeah. All right, let's pull up Bitcoin. All right. And yeah. And let's see my favorite ETH. Let's look up ETH right now. See what ETH is doing. ETH USD. See what's going on. For the Novas, can you recommend books to read? No problem, Beverly Green. First, you can go here to My Tech Academy. Right? And this is free. You don't have to pay to get this information. These are all of the books that I recommend that you read right here on the website. You see My Tech Academy. It keeps flashing throughout the chat. You also can click the link in the description. I recommend the 48 Laws of Power, the Internet of Money, The Creature from Jekyll Island, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, What Has Government Done to Our Money, The Bitcoin Standard, The Price of Tomorrow, 1984. This is a really good book, Skin in the Game. It's a little, it's kind of out there. It's a hard read. It's not an easy read, but it's a good book. This right here, Inserto, Fooled by Randomness, The Black Swan, and A Brave New World. Really, really good book. Really, really, really good book. So, and you don't have to buy these books through these links. If you want to support me, you can buy these books if you want to, or you could listen to the audio book. One thing about me, I give you guys free resources. I don't sit up here and try to charge you everything. Programming, I give you resources to open courseware with MIT, with Harvard. I give you guys all of the information that you could possibly ever need and want for free. The only reason why you would pay for information is if you want to accelerate your learning curve and get straight to the point where you're trying to get to making some money. I did a video about that the other day. Also, make sure you guys who are in the academy that you claim your uni tokens. I know some of you are just now finding out about it. Claim those tokens. That's free money that you were given. Claim them. So, David Williams said, "Dude, all of your books are classics." Thank you. These are all books that I've read. Obviously, I've been reading more books than this, but these books, I feel like for anyone who's just starting out, these books right here will do wonders for just your thinking. Not that you have to follow this information, but just it gives you a new concept of thinking outside of the traditional educational system. I think that that's one of the biggest problems. Now if you're a part of the academy, we did we had our live stream, was it yesterday or the day before, I believe? And I was telling you guys that I believe that we're going to probably go back down in here to this $300 to $280 range, and I believe that. I believe that we're going to probably have like a flash crash, because again, this has nothing to do with market dynamics. This is just about manipulation, and we understand that the powers that be can manipulate markets. The only way that Joe Biden can beat Trump is if the economy collapses and the stock market crashes. That's his only chance. So I encourage you to understand that, and just do your due diligence and look for buying opportunities. This is where dollar cost averaging comes into play. You're going to get some good buying opportunities for your favorite stocks. You're going to get some good buying opportunities for your favorite cryptos right now just coming out. I believe Ethereum is probably going to drop this support and probably trade back down to this like 300, maybe even 280-ish. I'll be looking to buy right there. 100%. I plan on putting together a course, Darren Blake 305, explaining like how I use the indicator and like what I'm looking for, because this is just one indicator, right? Technical analysis isn't enough to be investing in the market. You still need some type of fundamental analysis, and I like to use the volume profile to really find where the liquidity is at in the market and find out where the sellers are trying to sell the market at and where the buyers are trying to buy, and looking at where trapped sellers are and where trapped buyers are, because that's what pushes the market. See, what happens is that you have people, they draw lines on a chart, and everyone is drawing this line right now and saying that this is support. I guarantee we've all been there before, right? I guarantee you're going to have the newbies. They're going to say, oh, look, this is support, right? That's just what people do. They draw lines on a chart. These lines don't mean anything, right? What's going to happen is, because of the high frequency traders and the way that the market is structured, the market makers are going to pop this. They're going to pop this by 3%, 5%, maybe even 10% to run everyone's stop and then push the market back up. That's just the way that markets work. That's how they operate. That's how market makers make their money, right? Market makers make their money by running stops. So I just, from being in the market long enough, I know that what's going to happen, we're going to have one of those extreme days, right, where, the S&P is going to be down by like 5% or 6%. And then because crypto is so heavily correlated with the S&P 500, you're going to see Ethereum and you're going to see Bitcoin sell off, 10%, 8%, because remember, crypto moves, Bitcoin's going to probably sell off 8%, Ethereum may sell off 20%. That's just the way crypto operates. It sells off extremely, at a higher percentage than traditional assets, because their value is so much smaller. So I could definitely see us going down to like 300, 280. What's up, John Lycos? When I look at Bitcoin, same thing. I could see us breaking down to like 9,600, maybe even 9,200. That's in an extreme case, right? Or we could just move sideways. So those are the two things I expect up until the election. I don't expect anything major. Again, this isn't financial advice. I'm just telling you what I expect. I expect sideways movement or a little bit lower, right? So I expect us to, where's it at? Right? I expect us to do this right here up into the election. That or move a little bit lower. That's what I expect. So I'm a buyer here. You know me. I buy dips. I'm a dip buyer. I have a shopping list of different projects I want to get into. I've been scooping up some Chainlink now because I didn't have a chance to get into it. So I've been scooping up. I got to scoop up some Chainlink at like $7.50 today, $7.60. I'm going to be a buyer of Chainlink all the way down to $5. So so now I have a decent sized bag. I put about $15,000 into Chainlink today and yesterday. I've been buying up Chainlink. So Chainlink now, you can add that to my list. I buy dips. I've been buying more Polkadot. So now, I've been telling you guys about Polkadot. So just to update you on my projects that I own now, and when I say own, meaning I have a sizable amount of money invested. I own other projects because I received them through airdrops, like the same way you would airdrop the Uni token. Like when I purchased EOS and stuff like that, I got a lot of airdrops that I own, but I don't really promote them because I didn't put any real money into that. But as of today, I have a bag of Bitcoin, a bag of Ethereum, a bag of Polkadot, a bag of Chainlink now, going down to about like I said, that $7.50, $7.60 area. Have a little bit of Cardano, still have a little EOS, nothing major. Monero's my baby. I don't really hoard Monero. I use Monero to transact and do business because of the privacy features that it offers. But I have a decent size like stash of Monero. Have a big bag of Tezos. A little bit of Neo left in them, but nothing crazy. Cosmos, layer 2 scaling solutions. I keep telling you, focus on protocols and layer 2 solutions. When you understand that Ethereum is a virtual machine and it's a software platform, blockchains are inherently slow. They are designed to be slow. They're meant for censorship resistance, permissionless, and immutability. They're designed to be slow. So you're going to need layer 2 scaling solutions. This is where Polkadot comes into play. This is where Cosmos comes into play. This is where Matic comes into play. So I have a bag of Atom, VeChain. I made a lot of money in VeChain, still holding, not selling my VeChain. Uni, I sold all of my Uni tokens. I told you in the video, if you go watch the video, I claimed my Uni tokens. You should claim your Uni tokens as well. I immediately flipped those Uni tokens into Ethereum because remember, once Ethereum goes to proof of stake, and as I said, we have bets. Ethereum 2.0 is going to launch before this year is over. I believe that. I truly believe that. You need 32 ETH in order to be to stake and validate and be able to receive the fees because we're switching to proof of stake. There will be 2 chains. There will be 2 Ethereums. You're going to have ETH 2.0 and you're still going to have ETH. Once you convert your ETH over to ETH 2.0, it's not backwards compatible. You're not going to be able to come back to the regular Ethereum. So I would encourage those of you, like if you can get some ETH if you're going to experiment with it, right? So that's why I converted my Uni over to ETH in any airdrop I get because I'll just put those 32 ETH or however much I want to put on the testnet because not the testnet, but the first launch of the Ethereum 2.0. Let me correct myself. I have a bag of Ontology. I keep hearing about Celsius. I haven't had a chance to look at it because I'm so busy with this business and stuff. I haven't had a chance to look at it. I own Basic Attention Token. I like this project Algorand. I've been looking at it a little bit. I like that project. I don't own it though. 0x, I have a bag of it. It's not performing that well, but I have a bag of it. I have a little bit of Waves. HBAR, that's Hedera Hashgraph, love it. I'm looking to buy into synthetics. That's going to be the next thing that I'm going to buy. Synthetics. Augur, big bag of Augur, a little bit of Decred. I lost a lot of money into Cred. I think Decred, NEM, and Substratum is probably my biggest losses. Substratum's not even listed anymore. And that's it. I think that's it as far as the top 100 is concerned. I don't really go past the top 50. I have Aeon too, but I mean I'm losing money in that project as well. I'm down probably like 90% in Aeon. I haven't even like certain projects I won't even dollar cost average because it's just not worth doing it. Gold, as I said before, I believe that we're probably going to retrace a little bit. Shorts are going to cover it, and then we'll probably go a little bit lower, maybe to like 1800, 1760. Mike P, absolutely I would. If I had three Bitcoin, 3 BTC, and this isn't financial advice, I'm not going to tell you what to do, right? But it's just pure numbers, right? It's just math. Number one, you have to understand that Bitcoin is like MySpace, right? It's legacy tech as far as blockchains are concerned. Ethereum's worth 36 billion. Bitcoin's worth 190 billion. For Bitcoin to double, you need another 190 billion to come in. For ETH to double, you only need another 36 billion to come into place, to come into the market. Now, understand that the sovereign wealth fund, I forgot which sovereign wealth fund. I think they purchased about 600 Bitcoin through the MicroStrategy guy, Saylor, I forgot his name. So you see the big funds are starting to come in, the institutional players are coming in. When you start thinking about all of the pension funds that aren't involved, when you start thinking about the mutual funds that are not involved, we're talking about $20-30 trillion that's sitting on the sideline globally. Remember, Bitcoin's an international asset. They're going to flock towards Bitcoin. Why? Because the attack surface on Bitcoin is much smaller. With Ethereum, the attack surface is so much broader and bigger because of all of the software upgrades and the features that they're trying to add, to the protocol. So Ethereum's much more risky, but with more risk comes more reward. So I personally, understanding that, yes, Bitcoin is going to appreciate, but the appreciation as far as percentage terms are concerned is going to happen with ETH. And then if you understand smart contracts, you understand that they need middleware, they need an oracle, they need a chain link, right? That's where chain link comes into play, because you need the data that's going to, the outside data that's going to be speaking to these smart contracts to be decentralized, to be accurate in that way. So in order for Ethereum to be what it's going to be, you're going to need Chainlink, right? So I would be focusing on ETH. I would be focusing on Chainlink. I would be focusing on Matic, Polkadot, Cosmos, those projects that's going to scale ETH and make ETH more robust. Right. So, that's where I go with that information. Right. So I would definitely focus on that. Now, understand, though, that if you convert that ETH over to the Ethereum 2.0 chain, you're not going to be able to come back to regular Ethereum. So if something goes wrong with that new chain that they create with all of those features, your sugar honey iced tea out of luck, if you know what I mean. So you have to make sure that you are, tampering your enthusiasm and just making sure that you're not, you're not over leveraging yourself and jumping into something. Bitcoin is the OG. It is going to be around. It has the network effect. It has the branding, and the institutions are going to flock towards Bitcoin. But remember, a rising tide will lift all boats. So if Bitcoin is rallying, ETH is going to pump, and even garbage like Ripple. Ripple's going to pump because that's just crypto, right? Once something starts, it's just not going to pump as hard. I'm telling you, Chainlink is going to flip Ripple. Polkadot's going to flip Ripple. They're going to flip those coins. I've been telling if you go back and watch my older videos, I told you guys, any fork of Bitcoin is garbage. Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin Satoshi Vision, BNB token, the BNB coin, Litecoin, they do not need to be in the top 10. There isn't enough innovation happening. There isn't enough enthusiasm around these projects. Chainlink's a monster. It's going to be a monster project. Think about Binance Coin. Like, you don't need the BNB coin. When you have Uniswap, SushiSwap, PolkaSwap, you don't need this Binance coin. You just don't. Straight up. So this doesn't need to be there. Like, years ago, you needed those, centralized exchanges. You just don't need them anymore. UT Cardano got knocked out. It's going to happen. It's only a matter of time. Self-made SM. Governments can try to attack Bitcoin. That you should expect that. That's like saying I'm going to go into a fight and not expect to get hit, right? I expect the governments to try to attack Bitcoin. I expect, other cryptocurrencies and projects to attack Bitcoin. Bitcoin's been attacked before. Bitcoin is by far, so it has 11 years of being up and running. Bitcoin it's robust, it's dynamic. Every time it gets attacked, it gets stronger, right? So when you think of, systems and networks, right? Bitcoin is extremely robust. So I expect governments to try to attack it, and I expect Bitcoin to be successful. That's what I expect. Understand, when you understand the technology and you understand that if everyone's running a full node, it's impossible for governments to shut down Bitcoin. You can't shut it down. It's a language. It's a protocol. You can't. The only way that you can make it harder for people to transact with Bitcoin, you can make banks start to regulate it in a way, or like watch it in a way. But again, as I said before, when you see all of these billionaires getting behind it, when you see the financial economy starting to warm up to it, you know the Wall Street's coming. They're already here, right? And we know who controls these politicians. It's not, who controls the government. It's businessmen and women, right? That's that the whole purpose. These people who are laundering money through JPMorgan, those are the people who make the decisions. And the market is saying that they want Bitcoin. So will they make it hard? Absolutely. I expect it. I welcome it. That's only going to make Bitcoin stronger. And then where Bitcoin may be weak at, Ethereum will step in and fix that. Or where Ethereum may be weak, Tezos will step in, or Cardano will step in. Remember, we're in the early innings of this game. We're so early. This is like the internet back in the 90s. Like we're early. Like we have so much room for growth and so much room to go. It's amazing. Just think about this. I was talking with my business partner about this the other day. Think about when the telephone was first created. Think about how weird that was for individuals to get on a phone and actually hear another person speak. Like, think about how innovative that was at a certain time. Like, I guarantee that there were probably people who were saying to themselves, I don't trust that phone thing. I don't want to use that phone. There's memes about when electricity was first launched. People used to think electricity was witchcraft. They thought that you were practicing witchcraft for electricity. And then now we use electricity every day like it's nothing. See, with new technology, there will always be early adopters, right? And then you will have the people who are laggards. You don't want to be investing once everyone else is getting involved. You want to be investing now at the beginning where you can get a chain link where it's worth $2 billion. Because if Ethereum one day is worth $1 trillion, what do you think Chainlink's going to be worth? 100, 150 billion, 200 billion? What is the price of Chainlink going to be at that? You have to think about that. Now, Chainlink may be banned, like one of these other different, oracles. Who knows? We don't know, right? But when you understand that and you start seeing about technology, how most people, they adopt technology late. They don't adopt it early. We're early, right? We're the people we're the witches. I remember when credit cards first came out, people didn't trust credit cards. Beepers used to be the craze. Everyone had a beeper. Then it was two-way pagers. Then people started getting cell phones. I remember everyone used to have the Nokia phone. Then there was the Nextel, right? Where everybody used to go bleep, bleep. Then it went from the Nextels to the Pocket PC to the Sidekicks. And then there was the BlackBerry. Everyone had BBM Messenger and AOL Messenger. And then now, look, we have an iPhone. And I've had an iPhone now for 10 years. Now, the only phone I've ever used in the past 10 years has been an iPhone. That's the only phone I've had is iPhones. I've not had an Android phone. I've played around with a few of them. I've found a few, but I've never personally had a phone. Right? So just think about that. Gary Vee even said this. He said, if I came to you and I said that you would feel more comfortable putting your 14-year-old in a car with a stranger, or your 16-year-old in a car with a stranger than buying them a car, you would look at me like you're crazy. Yet we have Uber. People get in cars every day with a stranger like it's nothing. You could not envision that 10, 15 years ago. Just people weren't thinking like that. Right? But as the technology evolves, more and more people start to adopt the technology. Self-driving cars. A lot of people don't have them right now. I promise you, in the next 5 to 10 years, self-driving cars will be everywhere. That's just the way tech goes. So we're early. Yes, governments are going to try to figure it out. They're going to try to regulate it. They're going to try to ban it. There will be new innovations that will happen, innovative technologies that will come out, and who knows which one may be successful. That's why I tell people, don't put all your eggs in Bitcoin. That's just not smart investing. You should have some chain link. You should, especially when you understand the protocols that can actually, you can build things on top of them, like a Tezos, like an Ethereum, like a Cardano. Those are the ones I'm definitely interested in, right? So you just got to think about that, right? You have to really start thinking about that. Even EOS, I don't like EOS, but that's a decent project, you know. I don't trust Dan. He's a serial project jumper, but you know, who knows? So, but we're coming up on an hour and 34 minutes, so I'm going to end the stream here. I want to wrap it up like this. You always constantly hear people stating that crypto is only used by people who are trying to do illegal things. Yet this leak revealed over $2 trillion of illegal laundered money has went through global financial institutions such as HSBC, Deutsche Bank, JPMorgan Chase, and that's less than 1% of the transactions that actually has happened. The number one tool for criminals is the US dollar. So the next time you hear someone say to you that crypto is only used by hackers, refer to this document and you can see, no, crypto's actually open. Like Bitcoin's open. You can track it. You can trace it. Everything can be tracked and traced with the Block Explorer. I can see everything that's happening. Now, I may not know who's behind these addresses. Understandable. But I can see the activity. These banks have been committing fraud for decades. For decades. And when you think about it from the standpoint of as a black person, black man or female, George Floyd received a knee on his neck for 8 minutes for passing out fake 20s, for trying to pass a fake 20 in a convenience store. These CEOs, they are working with cartels, drug cartels. They're working with terrorists, countries that have been sanctioned and are on a banned list. And they take their money and they earn bonuses on that money. And they pay $1 billion fine, yet they make $25 billion on the deal. So clearly the incentives are not aligned, right? The risk doesn't outweigh the reward. So people are going to constantly keep taking those risks. I don't care if you're a Republican or Democrat. This system is immoral. It is corrupt. And we need a new system. We need a new reset. So please do me a favor and like this video, share this video, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Make sure that you join my mailing list so that you can be notified. Because when I make videos like this, YouTube will not send out my notifications. A link to my mailing list is in the description below. Make sure that if you want to contact me, you can reach out to me via Instagram. Simply follow me, shoot me a DM. If you are a person who's interested in learning about cryptocurrencies, blockchain technology, or learning how to code, My Tech Academy, we have a free 7-day trial. Come in there, test it out. If you like it, you're welcome to stick around. Have a blessed and beautiful evening, everyone. I will see you tomorrow.